Imagine a familiar Monday morning when your alarm goes off clearly. This concludes your brief sleep. When you wake up, you find yourself surrounded by unfinished work, and your email is full of important messages. Your texts and to-do list never seem to end, even before the new day has begun. You've started to feel stressed out. Negative thoughts are already dominating your mind. You may wonder how I manage all this stress without losing my composure. Optimism in these tough times. When everything seems overwhelming, it's time to take action. Maintaining a positive mood is crucial for implementing a plan of action or situation. It's a skill that you can learn and improve to get through it. Despite the problems you face in life, having a positive attitude can help you feel better. Making work easier to handle and managing everyday life is always a long journey filled with numerous problems. However, the Stoic theory can teach us important lessons that help us deal with challenging times. Stay cool and positive even when everything around you seems to be going wrong. Chaos. In this video, we'll explore the 7 essential steps from the Stoic perspective of life. There are useful and strong teachings that can help you stay calm and positive. If you ever find yourself in a tough spot, let these lessons be your guidance. To find inner peace. Again, step 1. Go on an adventure. I think the most important thing you can do is make an effort to try something new. Take advantage of every opportunity to try something new, and use those opportunities to list the things you've always wanted to do. Do not wait any longer. Go out and cross one of them off today. As long as you persist, you can attempt something you've never considered before. Stoic thought not only gives you new ideas and things to do, but it also makes your life better. It helps us stay calm in tough situations and pushes us to accept what is happening. Making a change is one of the best ways to live a full and joyful life. We not only create opportunities when we venture out of our comfort zones and try new things for our own growth, but also learn how to handle our feelings and face our fears. Life is constantly changing, so when we discuss trying new things, it's not a fixed concept. It's not just about external changes, but also about an internal journey of self-discovery. Marcus, one of the best Stoic philosophers, Aurelius, once said that the thing that stops people from action propels things forward. Obstacles become the path. Meaning becomes clear. This saying conveys the idea that the challenges we encounter present opportunities for growth, and action awaits those who have the courage to try new things. Every problem turns into a chance to try something new and move forward. Enrolling in a cooking class not only imparts new skills, but also brings the joy of discovering a love for cooking or trying a new sport. You might find your secret mental and physical strengths. Change is a part of life. The key to staying inner is to accept the things we can't change in life. Peace. When we try new things, we welcome the change that comes with it. We are changing, and so is the world around us. Every time we try something new, no matter how big or small, it brings valuable things that not only help us understand more, but also make us more able to deal with sudden changes. Personal growth isn't just about improving physical skills, but also about maturing mentally. We experience certain feelings when we step outside of our comfort zone. We must learn to maintain composure in the face of both success and failure. Some events may not bring the results we wanted, but that doesn't mean we failed, as Seneca once said. It's not because things are difficult that we lack courage. Rather, it's because we lack the courage to take risks. Although things can be challenging, striving for improvement instills confidence in us. We have to face whatever life throws at us, but fear can hold us back. Stoic thought tells us that fear is not what stops us from trying new things. The journey includes fear, but we grow when we overcome it. It only exists when we allow it to control us. Every time we overcome our fears, we become stronger, develop strength, and realize that our boundaries are important. People with illusions perceive life as an adventure, where every change and task is an adventure. Like a tree bending in the wind, there are opportunities to learn and grow. Being able to adapt to change helps us not only survive it, but thrive in it. Trying new things is an adventure that lets us enjoy every moment. Whether it's difficult or joyful, Approach it with an open mind and a readiness to accept it. Stoicism encourages bravery and calmness, but it also says we should always be willing to try new things and step out of our comfort zones. Accepting change and always getting better are ways to live a useful, joyful life and enjoyable life. Don't be afraid to try something new today. If you dare to start something new, you'll find that life is rich and fulfilling. Step 2 of the adventures. Why self-compassion is important. Self-compassion is the act of treating yourself like you would treat a kind friend. It consists of 3 main components: the importance of practicing self-kindness, compassion, and awareness. Stoic thought views this as a form of self-care, essential for maintaining our health. Maintain your composure and maintain a positive outlook on life. Stoicism teaches us this. The words we use when we talk to ourselves have infinite power. Not merely fleeting thoughts about ourselves, they form the foundation of our self-perception. When we speak negatively about ourselves, it affects the people and things around us, naturally gives in to bad feelings, which destroys confidence, and, on the other hand, self-worth can be enhanced if we use positive, gentle words like, "a good a friend," would calm and reassure us that we can get through it. There is a strong link between the hardest problems in Stoic thought, and instead of believing that punishing and criticizing yourself is the only way to improve, adopt a Stoic mindset. Marcus Aurelius wrote that thinkers look at our mistakes with acceptance and understanding. Keep in mind that you are in charge of your thoughts, not outside events. Find strength. This doesn't mean avoiding mistakes, it just means looking at them with a kinder eye. View that lets us learn and grow from problems instead of being hurt by them. We often punish ourselves harshly when we fail. This might stem from lofty aspirations or the pursuit of perfection, but it's extremely detrimental. In fact, self-criticism only keeps us stuck in negative thoughts. Isn't good for us, it makes us feel worse. Stoicism tells us to. When we catch ourselves talking badly to ourselves, we can gently change the subject. It's like a trustworthy friend telling you it's okay to start over. You should do the same. Say these words to yourself to help your thoughts stay on a positive track. Instead of lowering your own worth to help this process along, we can say positive statements to yourself every day, like, "I deserve to," "be loved," or "I can get through this." Gradually changing bad philosophers who adhere to the Stoic way of life emphasize that the mind is a powerful tool that we can change the way it works by saying positive things over and over. Finding peace and faith in life is another important tool. Stoicism teaches that self-reflection and looking deeper within are the keys to self-compassion. Meditation can help us let go of our judgments of ourselves. Maintaining a calm mind not only reduces worry, but also allows us to. Being kind and understanding to ourselves does not imply ignoring others. While making mistakes, I strive to improve with love and support. What would a Stoic philosopher do in a difficult situation? Imagine a friend trying to. When someone repeatedly fails to learn a new skill, you would tell them that failure is part of the process. They should not give up when things go wrong in the learning process. In your life, you need to keep telling yourself that mistakes are chances to learn. Grow not by giving yourself reasons to put yourself down. Being kind to yourself makes you your best friend and gives you a strong inner force. This strength helps you deal with the tough things in life. Peace. In the next lesson, we'll talk about how powerful positive thinking can be. It's crucial to discuss this topic once you've begun to grow. Positive thinking and self-compassion will soon become part of your life, giving you the strength to move on. The third step involves harnessing the power of hope and inspiration. How often do you think positively? Do you see the glass as half full or half empty? The way we see the world around us has a direct effect on whether we have a positive or negative outlook on it. Stoic thought encompasses more than just being optimistic or pessimistic about life. Positive thinking goes into more detail about how to control your ideas and feelings in this way. It is not only a good way to think, but also a great way to help people. Keep your cool and your spirits up, even when things get tough. Thinking positively has a huge effect on both mental and physical health. Stress helps people grow as individuals and gives them a better view of life. Stoic thought asserts that everything begins with mind control. As Epictetus said, this is not things themselves bother us, but our views on those things should be kept. For peace and happiness, it's important to be aware of your thoughts. You should also, when negative emotions arise, quickly shift your thoughts to focus on your inner self. Being aware of this helps us change how we react to things going on around us. The current language refers to this as mindfulness, originated in Stoic thought and means focusing on the present. The moment remains unaffected by worries about the future or sadness about the past. Mindfulness practice assists us in recognizing new thoughts, allowing us to, you can take charge of them and transform them into positive ones, which makes you feel hopeful. When things go wrong, maintain calm instead of panicking or losing control. Gloomy. A Stoic practitioner goes back to mindfulness to calmly look at the problem. Ignoring truth or bad feelings doesn't mean this, but instead of facing them with knowledge and clarity, they can turn. Transformation of obstacles into chances to learn, grow, and discover oneself. Our mind is like a garden when it comes to peace. What we plant will determine what it does. If you plant good thoughts, they will grow into happiness and hope. On the other hand, if you nourish your mind with negative thoughts, it will become barren. This is where emotions such as worry, fear, and sadness can manifest. Seneca, a Renaissance thinker, once stated that the only person who is truly sad is the one who has never. He faces challenges because he struggles to demonstrate his abilities while maintaining a positive attitude. Thinking implies that you should always choose to focus on what you can control instead than what you can't reach. When you're faced with mysterious Stoics, don't wear themselves out with pointless fears. Instead, they concentrate on taking steps for what they can do right now. This not only helps lower stress, it also aids in maintaining a positive attitude, regardless of the challenges encountered. Mindfulness isn't just something you do during meditation or deep thought. On second thought, a Stoic can find mindfulness in daily things like eating. Enjoying the sounds of nature and taking in the view of the setting sun are small, easy things. Please help us stay in the present and not worry or feel negative about the past or the future. Here are some tips on how to stay calm and positive in a busy world. From a Stoic perspective, life-positive thinking encompasses more than simply acknowledging see the world through a positive lens, but this is just a way to keep your thoughts in check. Being mindful helps us act with care and make smart choices in any situation. Remember that our mind is the source of all calm and happiness in our daily lives. Since it's the origin of all emotions, we have the power to manage it and improve our lives. Leave a comment with practice, regardless of the challenges we encounter. Using mindfulness, you can share your stories below this video and point of view to help others on their path to inner peace. And step 4, find balance by being thankful every day. Okay, life is good. Let's move on to step 4, showing thanks every day. Stoic philosophy says that being thankful is a powerful tool that not only it never brings us sadness, but always finds joy in every moment of life. From a Stoic perspective, gratitude is how we profoundly understand thinking about what we have instead of what we lack prevents us from being negative. Having negative thoughts, constant wants, or being unhappy, like a psychological fix. Being thankful helps us focus on the good things in our lives, no matter how small they may be. Epictetus once said that we should have a positive mood and act on it. Gratitude and focusing on what we can change are the best ways to move our lives forward. Thoughts on these positive things. Thanks isn't just social. This is because it's an important part of a deep spiritual and intellectual practice. The fact that Marcus Aurelius often told himself what he was thankful for wasn't an accident. He realized that being thankful helped him solve problems and made life better. The world encompasses everything, from a radiant sunrise to a tranquil sunset. The soft breeze, the trees, and everything else in nature give us a chance to be thankful. The actions we take on a daily basis have the power to alter our perception of the world and aid in our focus. Think positively and worry less about flaws. Try starting your own Start Your Day with a smile because you have another day to live. Keep a thankfulness journal and write down the little things you're thankful for, like the sun's warmth, a stranger's smile, or I am healthy enough to appreciate those things during these brief moments. Over time, they will build a network of peace and happiness together. Will help you handle the tough things in life better. You might be thinking that being thankful is simple when things are going well and positive news comes your way. In addition to achieving a goal or receiving praise, being thankful becomes even more important when things are difficult. When we face problems, we can be thankful for the little things we miss most of the time, and we can see that every hard times are chances to build inner strength. Being thankful isn't just not only for the good things, but also for the problems we face. These challenges help us become stronger, more patient, and smarter. Being thankful for not only it improves your mood and strengthens your relationships with others. Being thankful isn't just words, it's also deeds, like saying thank you. Thank someone every time they help you or hold the door open for someone behind you. When done with thanks, a small act can help make the world a better place. Society, especially gratitude, connects us to the world. And because God gave us life, we must have faith in Him. We should be grateful for what we have every day. Being grateful isn't something that just happens. You can begin by establishing a habit. Challenge: keep a gratitude book and write down 3 things you're thankful for every day. Try to find beauty in everyday things, like the sound of birds singing in the morning or a light breeze. As the sun shines through the trees, I want to test you one last time. Are you ready to practice gratitude for 7 days? Every day, write down what you're thankful for. There are 3 things you're thankful for, no matter how small. Enough to take on this challenge? If so, let me know in the comments. I'll try for it. It shows that being thankful calms, makes you happy, and changes your perspective. Life step number 5. Take care of your mind and body in a complete way. Body comprehensive health has evolved into a fresh perspective that aids in understanding consider health and well-being holistically, rather than solely focusing on symptoms or specific areas of concern. From the point of view of Stoic thought, the link between the mind and body are crucial for maintaining calmness and positivity. We can find balance in life by taking care of both parts as a whole. The Stoic theory provides us with solid guidelines to achieve harmony in all aspects of life. As we work toward this goal, please keep in mind that the mind and body are 2 separate parts of a person. They require meticulous attention to maintain the tranquility and well-being of the Stoic philosophy says that the body is like a holy building that holds our soul. A temple must be. The human body is cared for and protected to maintain its honor and peace. Isn't any different. If we fail to take care of our bodies, we are at risk. And not only will we lose our health, but our spirits will also suffer. Like your body and hairstyle, but also how well you can make decisions if your choices are lovely, so you will also respect and care for them. Body isn't just for self-care. It's also a way to stay strong and calm spirit. The mind and body are closely linked, and the peace of not taking care of your body prevents you from reaching your mind, and vice versa. Not taking care of our bodies can cause fatigue and instability. Fitness and mental health are crucial, according to Marcus Aurelius. He thought that taking care of the body also meant taking care of the mind in order to keep it clear and sharp. Holistic healthcare. Can we keep our mental balance when the body is stable? Resting is as important as eating well and exercising. Stoic thinks of eating as a way to calm down and love himself. Feed your body to satisfy hunger and to energize your mind. Like spirit exercise is not just a physical practice. It's also a way to develop persistence and drive. Sleep and rest are important part of the full care the body needs to heal through good Stoic philosophy. Tells us that we need sleep, just like a building needs quiet times to keep its holy status. Taking a break doesn't mean you're weak. It means you need time to get stronger. Improved mental health can provide Stoics with more energy. We need to take time every day to clear our minds and think about life through meditation and mindfulness. Think about what's happened. Seneca instructed us to spend every evening asking questions. This is a sort of meditation, thinking about what you did and how you behaved today, something that helps calm the mind and clear it. Meditation not only calms us down, but it also makes our being aware of ourselves, helps us deal with life's problems in a calm way. Patience. Once your mind is calm, your body will do what it needs to do on its own. Take it easy, and your health will get better. Imagine your body and mind as one. Correct sail setting is necessary for a sailboat to sail smoothly. Rudder carefully, and the captain must see effectively if the captain sustains an injury or loses their sanity, the entire boat will not survive. Maintaining the boat in optimal condition is the goal of comprehensive care. Making sure the mind and body work together well and steadily from the point of view of the Stoic theory, holistic health is not just taking care of the body but also the mind and spirit. This all-around care helps us stay calm and positive even when we tackle life's challenges by adhering to these guidelines each day. Not only will we be healthier, we can handle any issues. Step 6 is to find joy with peace and strength. Does your work ever make you wonder, how can I make my life more joyful? Do you think that finding happiness is a trip that takes work? Have you ever thought, I used to be happier and more content? I would be more happy if you answered yes to any of these questions than any other. You don't have to look for the path to happiness. It's already there. The busyness of life hides the joy that is always inside you, awaiting an offer to awaken. This joy Stoic philosophy, a useful and deep ideology, teaches us how to take care of our minds and bodies as a whole. According to our body, an effective way to stay calm and upbeat when life gets hard is to Stoicism is more than just a body. It's a holy place where the soul lives. We must honor, care for, and grow this temple in order to find harmony between the mind and the body. Marcus Aurelius, one of the great Stoic thinkers, once said that we can't separate mind and body health when we treat the body by giving love and care. We are indirectly building a strong soul that can handle anything. The difficulties of life in a world that is often rough, when things can uncontrolled, our bodies are the only places where we have full power. Taking care of this temple brings peace and deep joy to the Stoic. Philosophy emphasizes the intimate connection between the mind and the body. Stoics believed that if the body is weak or neglected, the spirit will also suffer. Sluggish and confused, only when the mind is calm can the body relax. Getting enough energy through tasks like healthy eating and regular food isn't just fuel for the body, it's also fuel for the soul. A well-balanced diet helps keep your mind clear, which makes you more hopeful. A strong will to keep going, even when things get tough, as well as regular physical. Being active helps get rid of negative energy, which makes you feel better. Developing a strong spirit while taking care of your body doesn't just happen. Stop eating right or working out. Total care means paying attention to the body's needs you need quiet times to sleep and rest, just like a temple does. Keep it holy, and our bodies need rest to replenish their energy. A beneficial night's sleep not only heals the body, but also clears the mind. It is beneficial to start each day with a better mood for Stoicism and peace of mind. Epictetus, another Stoic teacher, stated that it requires daily care. It's important to emphasize that our thoughts, not the objects themselves, are what bother us. Mindfulness and meditation are beneficial ways to keep your mind in check and not let it wander. Let it be swept away by things we can't change. While we can't change what? We can change how we react to things going on around us by keeping a calm mind. Stoic philosophy tells us to accept whatever comes our way with peace and joy. Teaches us how to stay calm in the middle of life's chaos, taking care of your mental and physical health is more than just a physical task. The Stoic theory doesn't tell us to live in a bubble, but rather urges us to face truth with a calm mind and a strong body when we know that our body is. We will cherish every breath, movement, and quiet moment as an important gift. In the end, a joyful and peaceful life is not a goal, it's a journey. The path of holistic self-care involves taking care of our bodies and minds together. For our health and inner peace, Stoicism reminds us that nothing is absolute. Being healthy, mind and body, is more important than peace of mind. Joy from within. Now let's move on to the last step, making it possible. Clarifying your objectives is crucial for achieving success and happiness. Don't make goals that are too big or too unclear for your life. Instead, start with small ones. Set clear, realistic goals that you can work toward over time. Step 7. Make goals that you can reach. Setting goals is an important part of being successful. Life is a process that influences and transforms everything from contemplation, having a picture of the perfect future, and the drive to make it come true. The process of setting goals can help you get where you want to go. Setting goals helps us see where we're going, how to get there, and what to do. The first thing that you need to do when setting goals is to understand why you want to reach them, and the reason for setting those goals. This reason or mission can figure out everything based on your goal. Then you can make decisions that improve your journey. But how do you set realistic goals with your skills? This is where Stoic thought can shine a light on things and help us understand them. Setting goals is an important part of life. According to theory, it's like a flashlight in the dark that helps us see what we really want to do. Setting goals is essential for finding peace and hope in life. Done carefully and intelligently, based on one's own skills and resources, like a big oak tree growing. People need to grow their goals slowly and steadily, starting with a small seed. Avoid rushing or skipping steps to avoid setting unrealistic goals. And unrealistic hopes of quick success can weigh people down and make them angry. Satisfaction and stoicism both call for balance in life goals. The scene shouldn't deviate too much from reality, but it also shouldn't be too simple. It's not challenging enough. Each goal serves as a milestone on the journey of life. Setting attainable goals not only keeps you motivated but also brings small rewards. Each step toward the end goal brings me happiness, much like a farmer. Carefully tending to plants requires patience, as our progress grows like a seed. Growing into a large tree takes time, and achieving ambitious goals also requires time. We need time to grow up, and Stoic philosophy tells us not to only focus on the end goal. On the way to reaching your goals, don't forget about the process. It's the growth that Marcus learned from your mistakes, and enjoy the little things that go well in life. Your thoughts determine your happiness, according to Aurelius. Setting goals isn't just a way to get rich or famous, it's also a way to changing the way we think, becoming more self-aware, and encouraging personal growth. Consider your life as a journey towards a peak. If you set a goal, you can reach it. Those are too far away and too high, and you're likely to give up. However, if you alter your plan, you might find yourself lost in the middle. Break the climb up into parts or smaller steps that are easier to handle. With a small goal and rest stops along the way, you'll find it easier to complete the longer routes. On your journey, these small milestones are like stairs. They are clear, and each one brings you closer to the bigger goal without making you feel like you failed. This is the delicate balance between striving for excellence and exercising patience. Another important thing to remember from Stoic thought is not to become too. The process we go through and how we face the challenges is more important than the outcome. Despite facing challenges along the way, Stoicism teaches us that taking steps and seeing results will occur naturally, breaking goals down into manageable pieces. Taking steps helps us stay on track without putting too much stress on ourselves. Taking care of a tree from seed to full grown takes a lot of patience and balance. Maturity. If your initial goals are too ambitious, they might be difficult to achieve. They should inspire you to grow, but if they're too small, they won't. Set goals that are big enough to inspire you, but not so big that you can't reach them. Have faith, and remember that the joy isn't just getting there, but also being there. Every move, every lesson, and every moment spent on the journey. Thank you for watching today's video on how to keep your cool and think positively. As we've seen in life through Stoic thought, Epictetus, Marcus Aurelius, and other scholars have demonstrated that peace self-control not only helps us get through difficult times, but it also helps us live a peaceful and worthwhile life by letting go of the things we can't change. Even though there are some things we can't change, we can keep a positive attitude about them. How have you used the Stoic theory in your life? What helps you deal with storms? Stay calm and hopeful when things go wrong. Please share your thoughts. If you found this video helpful, please tell me about it in the comments below. It was helpful. Like, share, and subscribe to the station to avoid missing videos. Don't miss any new material. Stoic has a lot more intriguing things to talk about. You can click on the next link to learn more about philosophy and how to apply it in everyday life. Videos play on the screen to continue our learning process.